Shark Tank is one of the longest-running and most-watched reality shows of all time. It's been a stalwart of ABC's lineup since 2009. The show lets viewers in on the mechanics, struggles, and triumphs of starting and operating a business. Thousands of entrepreneurs have entered the tank and pleaded their cases to the likes of Mark Cuban, Barbara Corcoran, Damon John, Lori Grenier, Robert Herjavec, Kevin O'Leary, and more, hoping they'll invest in their burgeoning companies. Not everyone got what they wanted, though.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to take the journey with you. I'm out.
Whether they made a deal or not, some made for some excellent television and placed themselves in the storied history of the business-minded reality series. Here are the people who set all-time Shark Tank records. There's no age limit on inventing cool stuff, nor starting a business to sell it. To honor the youthful, creative spirit, Shark Tank aired a special kids-only episode in March 2014. Every entrepreneur who walked on the set was well below the legal voting age, particularly Kiowa Kavovit. She stood on a stool to be better visible to the TV cameras and pitched Boo Boo Goo, a liquid adhesive bandage system. She came up with the concept at the age of 4, and Kavovit had a pending patent for her invention at the time. The substance forms a hard, protective surface over skin and wounds that, unlike standard bandages, doesn't peel off early. She added,
I never liked Band-Aids, and I didn't want people to see that I had something, because look at the board. There's Boo Boo Goo, there's the other paint-on bandage, and there's the Band-Aid.
The young entrepreneur consulted with her business partner, her father, and took a deal from Kevin Harrington for $100,000 for a 25% equity stake. When Kavovit taped her Shark Tank episode, she was just 6 years old, making her the youngest business person to get a deal in Shark Tank history. In the 8th season of Shark Tank, the show welcomed a clever and unique product pitch from Don Wildman, an accomplished entrepreneur and athlete. The founder of the gym chain that eventually became Bally's Total Fitness, Wildman competed in triathlons into his 80s and frequently skied.
I love all kinds of sports. I've done the Ironman 9 times.
You've done the Ironman 9 times?
Won it once.
His athletic endeavors inspired the product he pitched on Shark Tank with partner Jake Sullivan, Hand-Out Gloves. They're hand coverings that offer warmth and protection from the wintry elements, while also allowing the wearer to quickly expose their fingers to perform small tasks. Barbara Corcoran offered a $300,000 line of credit for a 25% equity stake in Wildman and Sullivan's company. At the time of his appearance on Shark Tank, Wildman was 83, making him the oldest person ever to pitch to the Sharks. Sadly, Wildman passed away at age 85 in 2018. According to Shark Robert Herjavec, each roughly 40-minute episode of Shark Tank is compiled from footage obtained over 12 hours of shooting. During a taping day, the Sharks entertain around 8 entrepreneurs' pitches, each consisting of about an hour of presentation, questioning, and negotiation. Each Shark Tank segment is edited down to about 10 minutes, so viewers have no idea how long it actually takes a business owner to attempt to sell the Sharks on their idea. Some take longer than others. In Season 4, Michael Sang appeared on the show to pitch plate toppers, plastic coverings that created an airtight vacuum seal when placed over leftovers to keep them fresh longer. Mark Cuban and Lori Grenier teamed up to grab an 8% equity stake in exchange for a $90,000 investment. But that's not the big story here. Sang made Shark Tank history by spending the most time on set. Cuban told Business Insider, "He was the longest deal we ever had. It went on for 2.5 hours. He never quit and kept coming back at us with confidence and eventually got a deal."
I throw guys like this out of my office. I throw them out of the window. Like, this is just ridiculous.
This is ridiculous.
Tenacity, perseverance, and picking oneself up by their bootstraps to try again are the virtues that Shark Tank is all about. While the Sharks accept at least 1 or 2 business proposals per episode, they reject just as many, sending entrepreneurs in need of a financial lifeline for their business scrambling for Plan B. For Kim Meckwood, the path to successfully marketing a product involved 7 trips to Shark Tank. With that many attempts to make a deal, Meckwood is the show's all-time record holder for persistence. Meckwood created the Click and Carry, a small, cheap-to-manufacture gadget that helps folks comfortably carry multiple grocery bags all at once. The inventor auditioned for Shark Tank 7 times over 7 years to get her invention, which she came up with in a very interesting way, in front of the Sharks.
I really think that your subconscious finds the answers for you, and it appeared in a dream.
She asked for a $225,000 investment in exchange for 15% of the business. Barbara Corcoran countered, wanting an 85% stake for the same amount of money. Meckwood turned that down, only for Mark Cuban and Corcoran to pool their resources to come up with the $225,000 for 40% of Click and Carry. According to the trade publication The Hustle, the Sharks heard nearly 900 pitches over the first 10 seasons of Shark Tank, with about 500 deals reached. Typically, an agreement was worth about $238,000 in exchange for a 27% equity stake. But a December 2014 episode featured a deal with numbers that were far from average. Andrew McMurray, vice president of Zaki's Wine and Liquor, appeared on Shark Tank to secure an investment in a venture that would change the very way wine was sold and consumed. The product was Zips, wine sold in individual serving-sized plastic wine glasses. Wine is a massive industry. It's estimated to grow into a $700 billion business by 2028. Understandably, some of the Sharks had some interest in Zips, but ultimately passed. Not Kevin O'Leary, though.
Just say yes. Trust me.
Andrew, it's actually a very good deal.
Andrew, are you going to take my deal or not?
He so believed in the future of Zips that for a relatively small stake of 10%, O'Leary agreed to put up $2.5 million, the biggest amount ever negotiated on Shark Tank. When the Sharks aren't buying entrepreneurs' companies outright, the deals on Shark Tank are relatively reasonable, while also involving a large sum of money. A few $100,000 in exchange for 20, 30, or 40% of a business seems like a fair and straightforward arrangement. Sometimes the Sharks will push for a higher stake, and often the fledgling business owners will counteroffer. But nobody ever leaves the show with a deal that isn't mutually agreeable. There's a lot of money to be had in the world of golf and golf accessories, and Shark Tank has witnessed its fair share. In a Season 1 episode from 2009, Dr. Floyd Seskin came into the tank asking for $25,000 in exchange for a 51% stake in his product, the Euro Club. It looks like a golf club and slips into any golfer's bag, but it's actually an emergency urine receptacle in case a duffer is so far out on the links that it would be impractical to head back to the clubhouse to use the facilities.
I don't use the Euro Club to make the shot.
No. It is not a functional cup.
After ultimately rejecting it out of hand, Kevin Harrington sharked his way into a deal. He gave Dr. Seskin the $25,000 he wanted, but talked him up to a 70% stake in Euro Club. That's the biggest share ever handed over during a Shark Tank episode that wasn't a full sale of the company. While the big money Shark Tank deals are the ones that make headlines, Steve Gadlin earned a place in the show's record books for his extraordinarily modest proposal. In January 2012, the artist and illustrator entered the tank to sell the Sharks on his business idea, a service called I Want to Draw a Cat for You. With a memorable presentation that included a simple poster board and a goofy dance routine, Gadlin talked about his self-explanatory plan for a company that would let customers request a custom drawing of a cat. They'd provide a description of a kitty and a scenario, and for about $10, Gadlin would draw it.
There is an economy for stupid, and I am overflowing with it.
In the year leading up to his Shark Tank appearance, Gadlin had sold around 1,200 drawings, earning a substantial amount of money. But he needed investors to help him expand the business. Yet all Gadlin wanted was $10,000, for which a shark would get 25% of I Want to Draw a Cat for You. That's the smallest pitch to get a deal in Shark Tank history, financially speaking. Mark Cuban agreed to support Gadlin, upping the deal to a 33% stake for a $25,000 investment. Not every entrepreneur that graces the Shark Tank stage walks away with a cash infusion. While hundreds of participants have saved or elevated their business thanks to a Shark Tank negotiated deal, hundreds more weren't able to convince the Sharks. Some of those companies go out of business, while the operators of others look ahead to other opportunities and possibilities to keep their dreams alive and their doors open. One product in particular went on to earn billions, but not for any of the Sharks because they all passed on the opportunity to invest. In 2013, Doorbot CEO Jamie Siminoff spent the company's last $20,000 or so to build his Shark Tank visual aid, a faux front door and lawn to demonstrate his product in action. It's a doorbell that allows residents to see in real time who is standing at their door. Siminoff asked for $700,000 for a 10% stake, but none of the Sharks thought the product had much of a future.
I'm wrestling with where this goes in the market. I just don't think it's for me.
Amazon disagreed, purchasing Doorbot, by then known as Ring, for slightly more than $1 billion. Kevin O'Leary later told CNBC that saying no to Siminoff ranked as probably the biggest miss in his Shark Tank tenure. Shark Tank helps provide for business owners and creators with several things that make it easier to succeed: a hefty amount of operating capital and a whole lot of publicity. Several products that debuted on Shark Tank are now household names and a part of daily life for millions of people. It's almost easy to forget they haven't been around all that long. Some of the biggest brands to come out of Shark Tank include Tipsy Elves holiday sweaters, the Simply Fit exercise gadget, the Scrub Daddy sponge, and Bombas socks. In the 6th season premiere of Shark Tank in 2013, Randy Goldberg and David Heath sought a $200,000 infusion in exchange for a 5% stake in Bombas, which makes extra soft, comfort-first socks. 4 of the 5 sharks said no. Damon John was about to join his cohorts until he negotiated a deal to provide Goldberg and Heath with their $200,000 for a 17% share.
I was about to be out, but I like that valuation only because it looks like you do want to get to work.
It was a very profitable investment. In 2021, Bombas overtook Scrub Daddy to become the single most lucrative product to ever get a Shark Tank vote of support, generating sales of $225 million. Shark Tank debuted pretty quietly in the television off-season of the summer of August 2009. At the end of the 2009-2010 season, Shark Tank ranked number 88 in the ratings. But it was a sleeper hit, growing over time and launching spin-offs and multiple international versions. But within just 4 years, Shark Tank viewership got a lot better. Shark Tank rose to number 44 in the ratings for the 2013-2014 season. It wasn't done rising. The following season would feature the most watched single episode out of nearly 300 Shark Tank installments and counting. It aired on January 16, 2015, and had cameo appearances from champion fighter Uriah Faber and actor Dean Cain.
I don't like to shop. I don't like to go in. I don't want to try to find things off the rack. I don't want to do that. I'm a football player. Originally, I have a different build.
The episode was seen by a whopping 8.64 million viewers. Thanks for watching. Click the links in our video to watch more from Sony Pictures Television. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get the latest exclusive videos. Plus, hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.